I mean, I've had a look at your art. It's obviously very accomplished graffiti art. Um, and I can see that some of it turns into kind of quite large paintings on people's walls, restaurants, that kind of thing. I can see that it turns into products. There's an exhibition in here, so there's all sorts of stuff going on. So there's absolutely no reason why values-based marketing wouldn't work for this kind of art. For kind of there's quite a bit of political stuff in here as well. This is not my world necessarily. So the only graffiti artist, embarrassingly, the only graffiti artist that I know that trips off my tongue is obviously Banksy. I'm going to go and talk to ChatGPT, which you'll hate as well. You know, we can do it without ChatGPT. It just kind of helps you think. You can think of graffiti art and the Banksy as kind of a bit anti-establishment, a bit wanting to bring issues to the fore, a bit as a means of communication from a community, as a means of artistic expression. And so those are the things that come to my mind. And ChatGPT says that Banksy is an anti-establishment thing, about social justice and equality, about environmentalism, anti-war, freedom of expression, critique of consumerism, so that's kind of pop arty, anonymity and humility, that's interesting, isn't it? Empathy and compassion, and innovation and creativity. So there's all of those kinds of things involved. So my method takes all of those different values and kind of forces you to make a decision which is the most important, so that you can kind of clearly go forward with that. So if we said, okay, it's an anti-establishment and anti-authority thing, so you're going to bang up against the police and basically getting into trouble, and whether that's something you want to do or not is another matter. But what I'm thinking is, I don't know if you've seen the Janie Godley voiceovers of Nicola Sturgeon. That feels like graffiti to me. And so I'm sure this is not an innovative idea in your world, but graffiti, if you wanted to be anti-establishment and not get in trouble with the law, you could do things electronically, and then people can't necessarily complain that you've spray painted my statue, that kind of thing. I mean, just yesterday or the day before, I think some protesters got into Sunak's Yorkshire home, one of his many large homes that has a lake, and they took a dump in his lake before they got caught, as a kind of a protest against sewage in our rivers and seas. And you know, it hits the news. So if you want to be anti-establishment, if that was the value that you went for, then you can see that there are various marketing ideas, whether they're kind of guerrilla marketing ideas or social media marketing ideas. You can see that they come out of anti-establishment if that's the value that it turns out you want to lead on. And like I say, my software helps you decide which is your leading value, because it could be that you wanted to lead on innovation and creativity, in which case, you know, graffiti has a bunch of norms and perhaps and tropes maybe, and you know, perhaps like the painting the head underneath where a tree pokes over a wall, so that looks like the head. You know, all those kind of things that we're kind of used to, and obviously we admire the making of it, but it's not different. And so if you want to be innovative, if you want to lead on innovation and creativity, then you know, we need to take it somewhere. And where, like in tattoo art, and again, this is not a world I'm into, but you know, tattoos were done in an expected way, let's say, I don't know. Is there something that's called something like watercolor tattoos, something like that? So there are different styles coming out. So maybe there's something in that. And if you wanted to lead with, I mean, freedom of expression is the one that kind of came up. For me, that's about using graffiti art as it's something that's available to all, and it speaks for a community. It's kind of like block level news. And so if you live in a place where there's a community of people who feel a particular way, they can express that through graffiti and through your skills as a graffiti artist. And so it becomes a megaphone for a group of people. And so if you want to lead on that, then it becomes, you can do the same thing on social media. So it depends what you want to lead on. What value you want to live by actually leads to the creative ideas that inevitably follow. And whether those express themselves in online, or whether they go actually onto the street, or whether they go into clothing or clothing modifications, the value is what leads it. The crucial thing is that having done all that, you end up with people who believe the same thing, or who admire your stance, or who want to see more of what you're doing, following you on social media. And so you get a following, and then you can start to ultimately, you'll have products to sell, you'll have exhibitions for people to come to, you'll have a book about your approach, there'll be all sorts of things that can be an income stream. So that's, it applies. It applies if you sell paper clips, it applies wherever. This is just not necessarily a world that I'm absolutely familiar with, but it doesn't matter. So yes, values-based marketing works for graffiti art.